Before we get started, a quick question. If the CRA selected your business for an audit tomorrow, do you know what it would cost you? Audit Shield covers your accountant's professional fees if your business is audited or reviewed. Ask your CPA if they offer Audit Shield or visit auditshieldconnect.ca to check.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil Bliss, founder and CEO of Canada's Entrepreneur. Great to see you. Today we're going to meet Jerry Hammond, who's the founder and CEO of Hammond International Properties, Toronto's premier boutique luxury brokerage that serves ultra-high net worth clients across Canada and internationally. And he's been in the real estate business since 1993. Jerry started in real estate in 93, built his name as a top individual producer in the luxury segment, and founded Hammond International Properties in 2015. He went boutique, went brand, and then went global. He's three-time top 100 luxury real estate brokers in the world, and 2024 Best International Real Estate Agent, and in 2021 Best Luxury Brokerage in Canada. So, Jerry, welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur. Great to meet you. And I've been reading your background. It's pretty impressive. As I always do, so everyone gets to know you right from the beginning, just give me that kind of 4-minute journey summary, who you are, how you got here, why, that kind of thing.
Certainly. So I guess if I go back about 30 years or so, I was making a decision on whether I go into real estate or whether I go to law school. And at that time, I thought, what an opportunity to sort of take a deep dive into real estate, because it's more of an entrepreneurial spirit. You're able to meet people in general rather than sitting behind a desk. And then allowing yourself to get, bogged down with a lot of paperwork. So I took the journey of going into real estate. And at the time, it was in the early 90s. Everybody thought I was just out of my mind because the market wasn't great. But I ventured into a decision that I thought was the right decision. And of course, here we are, 30 plus years later. And it's been an incredible journey, to say the least. And it's been truly part of my spirit, part of my soul. And I put my a lot of work into it to make sure that, we created longevity within this industry.
Interesting. So in that time, and since the early 90s, what would you say is the most significant thing you've learned on this journey?
I think the most significant thing is you've got to always reinvent yourself. You've got to keep up with the times, not so much get caught up in the trends, but be a leader in whatever work that you're doing in order to gain notoriety in the market or in the respect of the marketplace, understand consumer habits, and make your life intriguing so you can stand out in terms of the competition or competitors in general.
Now, on the real estate side, it's always somewhat entrepreneurial.
Yes.
But what made you, even then, you have a relationship with an agency or something like that. What made you step outside of that success bubble into something, where you were taking the risk, if you like?
Sure. Well, back in 2007, with my previous organization, I helped over 1,000 families move. In 2011, I was top 25 in the world out of over 100,000 agents. And the company that I was working for was RE/MAX. And they asked me to start their luxury division back in those days. And when I went to the principals at the time, I mentioned, my idea. And they thought that, RE/MAX could be everything to everyone. And I said, in the world of luxury, you have to be a niche. You have to be very boutique oriented and very consumer centric in terms of white glove service. And so I was going to buy the existing office, change the business plan of the office. And of course, there was 130 agents there at the time. And it wasn't very easy because under 10 were productive. And then we took the route of opening up a franchise operation through Remax. We want to change their business model. And the principals at the time said to me, we don't want to change our business model. We want to sell franchises. And so that led me to a different path. I looked at other organizations. And then when I had to sort of discuss with them the opportunity that we had here in Toronto, because nobody had done this in Canada, they said to me that there was a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy that I had to deal with. And I'm not a bureaucratic or red tape kind of person. I like to think outside of the box. So then we decided, okay, we're going to open up our own organization. And it took 2.5 years to design the concept as to how and when we were going to launch it. And it took off right away. And that was the pivotal moment or the aha moment as to when Hammond got started.
Hey, real quick. If you run a business in Canada, CRA audits are a reality. Audit Shield covers your accountant's professional fees if your business is audited or reviewed by the CRA. Ask your CPA if they offer Audit Shield or visit auditshieldconnect.ca to check.
Yeah, and I was reading through your notes. Most people say that luxury real estate is about the property. You said it's about the relationship. How did you get to that conviction?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. I've been surrounded by incredibly successful people, some of the wealthiest Canadians in Canada who have set their standards quite high for their own industry that they've pursued. I've also had the good fortune of traveling around the world to looking and studying some of the most successful operators in the world, and most of them were boutique. Most of them were luxury. And then I took a deep dive into hospitality, and then another deep dive into what luxury and how luxury was defined in the industry in general outside of real estate. And we took some of those attributes and then, of course, brought them into the organization to help set the standard. And we realized that dealing and selling to the luxury consumer was all about relationships. It was all about trust. It wasn't necessarily about price point, but it was how we were going to represent the product to the marketplace in a very elegant and, of course, advantageous way to the consumers that we were serving.
The luxury client is a very specialized sort of area.
Yes.
How do you win at that level? How do you find those people, get the trust that they need, close the deal kind of thing? How do you do that? Or maybe you don't want to tell me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, believe it or not, it's more simple than you think. First of all, the most important attribute for personality is being liked and trusted. And, can you manage this type of affair? Because it's a large investment and sometimes some of the largest investments that people have made. And they have to like and trust you. Once you determine the like and trust, then it's just a matter of molding, how you want to be perceived. How do you want to be remembered? What's your unique selling proposition to get their home on the market and to make sure that it's going to significantly stand out from the competitors? And of course, being able to sell, of course, within any type of market environment. That's the unique, source that you have to find out. You have to dig deep because you can't just think of it on a mass scale. We're very quality driven. We're not quantity driven here in our office. And that makes a tremendous difference. And I think that attention to detail helps us build the rapport, gain the understanding, and then, of course, understand our clients more on a personal level than on a business level.
And it was interesting. You cite Izzy Sharp, Isidore Sharp,
yes,
the Four Seasons, who I met many, many years ago and did a weekend planning session with him. As a philosophical influence, I could understand why. What specifically did you take from his model that you've applied?
Yeah, well, the golden rule is a brilliant and genius business model. Most of us think that the the way to build a business is the school of hard knocks, but treating people like you want to be treated under the golden rule, and him actually creating his company with that in mind was really genius. We've taken on a similar approach here at Hammond. I've also been fortunate enough to stay at many Four Seasons. I have a personal letter from Izzy Sharp recognizing our excellence in the industry. It's all these little attributes. And when I do stay at his establishments, you can sense the level of service that you receive from each and every person within the organization. Everybody from who opens up the door, of course, who takes the vehicle, the people at the front desk. And so if you study all these touch points and you attribute them to your own organization and adapt them into your everyday systems, it's amazing what you can do and leverage through an organization.
And you've taken your success here in luxury real estate internationally.
Yes.
What's that kind of step? I mean, the market isn't the same in country by country. At least I don't think it is.
Yeah, no, there are changes. The thing that we identified, and there's a few things that that I personally won. So this year we won the best luxury real estate company in the world through the International Property Awards. The awards are given out in London, England. There's 110 judges and 4 lords. And of course, we won globally. And that's great recognition for us. That's like the red carpet. What we've done to identify, what luxury is and how luxury is defined is really understanding other luxury brands and understanding their psychology behind what they do and how they do things, and how unique and how scarce their systems are, and how their services are quite scarce. And that takes on a whole new meaning behind psychology and understanding that luxury consumer.
What do you have to say no to in your business? And how do you decide that?
I don't think no is the answer. I think what ends up happening is we kind of reverse engineer what we do. So people have to desire what we do. They have to like and understand what we do as an organization and be in a respected position. So it's not that we say no, it's that we're teaching people what we do and how we do things. And we've taken it in many ways a few levels up from our competitors, and maybe even outcompeted most of the competitors in our marketplace. And that's what the consumer realizes. And in today's world, especially when you realize that, luxury real estate is a scarcity in terms of supply, and there's only few that can afford it. The people that are trading in that marketplace are few and far between, but they have an appreciation for the lifestyle that other people have lived through the real estate, for instance, or have an understanding of good quality locations and design. In one case, we're including furniture and vehicles in the purchase. So, people in this world are living a very fast lifestyle, and they're very open to change. They may not have just one place of residence, both here in Toronto and globally. So we realize that our clientele has adapted to a global lifestyle. They may have global operations where they might have their head office here, but they're doing businesses in other countries. And we made sure that we were able to be an advisor accordingly to help facilitate that consumer.
This episode of Canada's Entrepreneur is sponsored by Audit Shield. Here's something most business owners don't think about until it happens: a CRA audit. Those professional fees can quickly add up, even for a straightforward review. Audit Shield covers your accountant's professional fees if your business is audited or reviewed by the CRA. It's a service that's been around for 10 years in the Canadian market, offered throughout participating accounting firms, designated to protect businesses from the unexpected cost of CRA reviews. Ask your CPA if they offer Audit Shield, or visit auditshieldconnect.ca to check.
What do you think most people, don't understand about the luxury market versus the normal market, if you like?
Decision makers in the luxury market make quick decisions because they're short on time in general. And understanding how to facilitate and shorten their timelines to make these decisions is really crucial. And so that's really one of the differentiating factors. And then really understanding that you have to work very closely with that consumer. You not so much holding their hand every step of the way because they have great advisors around them, but making sure you're on key with tapping into their timeline. Understanding the needs that they want out of a certain project, whether they're selling or whether they're buying, and then of course adhering to those needs and staying on track to make sure that you're facilitating in the service.
You've built a hell of a business. Who's helped you on the way, in terms of mentorship, that kind of thing? Who would you say, you got advice from, and that, you talked about the golden rule, but you've got advice from, and you keep using that advice, if you like.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I bumped into a lot of people, both on a personal level and through reading their books. That's been my mentorship over the years. My late father-in-law, who is one of Canada's largest developers, built one of the largest condominium companies in Canada. He was a great mentor to me. And, I'd have to say he had built a great company. And because he built such a great company, I thought it was a responsibility to keep that value high. So I looked to him for advice and guidance. But then, of course, you mentioned Daisy Sharp, Horst Schultz on the luxury side, who led the Ritz-Carlton chain. Izzy Sharp on the Four Seasons side, Tony Robbins. I just met him in Palm Beach. A great picture with him. Yeah. And I told it was really funny because I had intended on going there for relaxation. And I said in the back of my mind that I'd like to meet him in person. And there we bumped into him just after having dinner at one of the restaurants with him and his family. So that was really very special. But I'd have to say there's a lot of great leaders out there that if you tap into the books that they've left behind, or getting to know them on a personal level, that could really, I guess, rub off on you personally, in order for you to sort of learn the attributes and take the good things out of their personal lives that's created such success in their own personal lives.
So what's keeping you up at night? I mean, it can't all be.
Yeah,
whatever.
well, believe it or not, I think what happens is when you go from being an entrepreneur to, for you, the individual, Jerry Hammond, to now, being responsible for a company, it takes on a whole different attribute. So you have to keep inspiring people. You have to keep them motivated. You have to keep them dreaming as to, where things are going, and sort of create this long-term drive behind their consistency. So everything that I've attributed to my own life, I like to share with the others, especially in our organization, and the people that surround me on a daily basis, because I really believe I've been very fortunate and blessed in my own personal life. And I think I can share that with others. And this is just one way of sharing in that success.
Where is, the luxury real estate business in Canada and internationally? Where's it going in the next 5 years?
Well, luxury has never disappeared from the market. It's been around for 100 years or so, and it won't be disappearing from the market. And as we have great gains in the marketplace through industry, through business, through this entrepreneurial spirit, and people that want to drive themselves to higher values, of course, they generally want more in their personal life. Real estate will always be a great investment for them personally to help build their wealth creation. But as we've seen, wealth is changing. Succession planning is part of that wealth, personal growth, understanding where tax havens are, maybe moving to certain areas that are not so tax prohibitive. And then, of course, that'll never change. So we see that consistently driving the market. These are leaders in our society who create wealth and, of course, create opportunity for people working in their organizations. And we just feel that, as times move forward, we're going to see a faster form of what an entrepreneur looks like, especially with AI and all the wonderful ideas that it's providing to us, and how fast we can gain that information.
On the AI front, how quickly are you guys diving into it? I'm just curious. I mean, it's obviously affecting everybody.
Most definitely.
I've got, I'm automating my whole business,
Right.
because pretty much everything in production can be done. I hate to say it, without human beings, basically, except for this piece, if you like.
Yes, exactly. Well, I really believe from our business point of view, the human interaction or the emotional engagement with people in general won't disappear from our industry or my personal industry. But where I see AI make you'll be able to fast track, that communication with your clients. You'll be able to provide them a more exact feedback in terms of what's happening with their property, and I think in real time. So for us, we've adapted AI over a year ago in terms of integrating it into what we were doing. So it's become a definite normal practice within my company. And I personally use it because it's saving me a lot of time. It's saving me time from really thinking about how to, verbalize things or communicate effectively, or making sure that my message is very clear in my communication with people in general. And then we're using it in our photography and our lifestyle aspects, where we used to hire people in order to step in like real models or, something to make things more exciting to showcase our property. So yes, it's become a core value that we've been able to use every day. And it's really enhanced our business and helped us, fast track, I'd have to say, but also elevated the experience with the organization.
Before we wrap up, thanks to Audit Shield for supporting this episode. CRA audits are a reality to Canadian businesses, and the professional fees to respond can come as an unwelcome surprise. Audit Shield covers your accountant's professional fees if your business is audited or reviewed by the CRA. Ask your CPA if they offer Audit Shield, or visit auditshieldconnect.ca to check.
So just one final question. I'm just interested. Now, you built a heck of a business. What would you say is the hardest leadership decision, choice, whatever you want to say, you've made building the company?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is I decided to jump ship and start from scratch. So, if I were to buy a franchise, I could have bought their formula for success and then bought into that. But I had to design it from scratch. But looking back in hindsight, I'd have to say that was my blessing, because I was like a kid in a candy store, just reinventing everything all the time, staying on top of it, making sure that the level of what I wanted out of the company and what we wanted to be perceived like was my own, and that it was being respected out in the marketplace. So what's the hardest thing? I think, finding like-minded people is always difficult.
Yeah.
Instilling, great value in what we do to the consumer every day to make sure that we just don't drop the ball, and that people in the organization also understand that level of respect that we provide to our clients, and making sure that we stay ahead. So we're not following an industry, we're leading the industry. And we're constantly leading with the ideas and constantly reinventing ourselves to stay on top of, not, as I said, not the latest trends, but we're reinventing how people look at the organization. And of course, the respect that we've earned in the marketplace, because we're serving at a very high level, the consumer base that we are serving.
Okay. Jerry, it's really been great. I didn't know much about the luxury real estate side. But it's really been a good perspective on it. Thanks for coming on Canada's Entrepreneur.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate the opportunity. It's a pleasure meeting you.